Welcome back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is the co-owner of Driven Personal Training. She's the owner of Modevo Fitness. She is also a weight loss trainer and has a BS in dietetics. Today's guest is Siera Capesius. Siera, I want to welcome you to the 127 Fit podcast.
Thank you for having me.
For sure. So Siera, we're just going to dive right into our conversation today. I've got 4 questions that I like to ask all of my guests just to kind of get the conversational ball rolling, so to speak. The first question that I have for you is, how do you start your day? Do you have a specific morning routine or morning ritual that you like to stick to on most mornings?
Yeah, so my morning always starts with whatever time I'm going to wake up. I have to wake up exactly 1 hour before I wake up.
Okay.
So I always set a time, and I do this because back in the day I would rush like 5 minutes to get where I was going.
For sure, yeah.
And that was just way too stressful. So doing that, and then I immediately take out the dogs, make breakfast, do the hair and makeup, look at the schedule, what am I going to do for the day, and then I just get rolling.
Okay. Now, like in regards to like your first client or clients that you have in the morning, is it pretty early? Do your mornings for the most part start pretty early or not per se?
Yeah, that just depends on if I have a early morning client.
Okay.
The earliest I have to wake up is usually like 6.
Okay, that's not too bad then.
No, that's not bad.
Okay. Now, are you like naturally, are you a morning person or not really?
Waking up at 6 is fine, but waking up at 5 isn't.
so the hour difference makes all the difference, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, like kind of in regards to breakfast and things like that, is there kind of like a specific kind of go-to in regards to breakfast? Is it pretty consistent, or does it kind of just depend how you're feeling, kind of like what your body's telling you want to eat? How does that look?
I pretty much eat the same thing every day.
And what is that?
Turkey bacon and a whole wheat bagel.
Okay, cool.
And maybe like some juice.
Okay,
like
perfect.
Juicing, yeah.
Perfect, very good. All right, so do you have, and for the next 3 questions, if there's more than one, please feel free to share, but do you have a favorite book or book that you like to gift often?
Not particularly. I read everything.
Okay.
Fiction, nonfiction.
Okay.
So everything. But lately I've been reading just a lot of fiction just so I can kind of escape from the business world.
Okay. So like in regards to like the fictional reading, you said kind of escape the business world. So has reading been, or it kind of sounds like it is currently, it's kind of like an outlet for you just to kind of like let go of like all maybe the pressure and the stress of like business and life and stuff. So is that reading really kind of that beneficial outlet for you? Is that kind of like what you're finding in the fictional reading?
Oh, definitely.
Okay,
so when
cool.
it's like 24 hours of work, and always thinking about work, you need an escape.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of escape at the end of the day.
Okay. So do you usually kind of like read? Does that kind of help you wind down and then like be able to fall asleep then? So is your reading taking place for the most part kind of at the end of your day, or?
Middle of the day and end of the day.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool, awesome. So is there a favorite quote, mantra, or word that has been impactful, maybe like in the current season of life that you're going through, or maybe in a previous season of life? So favorite quote, mantra, or word?
I wouldn't really say so, just because it's always like with business, it's always up and down and how you're feeling. So the quotes are always different every day.
Has there been one though that's been like at some point kind of impactful, or maybe just like a word? Like I know for me, like if I somebody said, "Hey Quentin, describe 2019 for you personally in one word," the word I would use is breakthrough, because there's been just a lot of personal like breakthroughs I've gone through. So is there maybe like one word, or is there something at some point during your life that you've kind of held on to for maybe some motivation in regards to somebody else's words?
I guess like keep going.
Okay.
Would be a good one, just because there's times where I want to either give up or I'm afraid of failure, and so you just have to like keep going through that path of life.
Perfect. So the last question in regards to the conversational warm-up, Siera, do you have a favorite or most listened to podcast?
Oh yeah, definitely Andy Frisella right now.
Okay.
And back in the day it was Bedros.
Okay, yep. Bedros Keuilian, yeah. So those are both those guys are pretty fiery, so that's good stuff. Is there like with the MF CEO with Andy Frisella, what's something that you enjoy in regards to his podcast? Is it just kind of like his motivation, his fire, his passion, or is there maybe something else?
He says everything that I wish I could say, but I'm too scared to.
He definitely does not hold back on any language or words. That's for sure. So, but cool. Okay, so Siera, I just want to kind of get into a little bit of your backstory. So if you don't mind sharing with myself and the 127 Fit podcast listeners, where did you grow up? What did those younger years look like? Were you involved in extracurricular activities, sports? Did you spend a lot of times outdoors? Siblings? Just kind of paint a little bit of a picture of what the younger years looked like for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So growing up, it was a pretty typical American family.
Okay.
Life was good.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a cheerleader for all of high school. I was the captain.
Cool.
And then it was all about grades, keeping up the good GPA. I graduated with a 4.2 GPA.
Dang.
Yeah, I had all my college math done by high school. So
there
it was very strict with school performance.
Okay.
And I have 2 brothers, and it was the same with them, but I was always the rising star.
Okay, so now in regards to kind of like the academics and stuff like that, was that something that was set pretty strong from your parents, or was that just something that was kind of internal with you personally?
It was both, but definitely there was incentives for good grades.
What were the incentives? Money? There you go.
So that's why I always got straight A's. I've only gotten 1 B in my life.
Dang.
So that kind of...
You were one of those people. You were the type of person I didn't like in school.
Yep, I was good at school.
Were you the type of person like you got, so like I remember one time I was like in a computer class in college, and I don't know this, I was getting like a D, probably failing at the time. And I remember this girl, she missed one question. She got like a 99.9% on the test. She missed one answer, and she was raising her hand, arguing with the professor about the one answer. I'm sitting over there. I missed like 45. I had like an F on the test. I'm like, are you serious? So, yes or no? Were you that type of girl or not?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, good. Okay. Then I didn't. I would have liked you probably a little bit then in school. So I just couldn't stand the people that missed one on a test. They got an A in the class, 4.0, and they complain and argue with the teacher or the professor because they missed one. I'm like,
no.
Seriously, come on now, let's go.
Pretty quiet. So
Okay.
No.
Okay. So now, what did I don't think I've ever had anybody or this hasn't come up on my podcast previously with any guests, but the cheerleading. I want you to just touch on that a little bit. Was that did you like really become like really passionate about that? Did you really enjoy that experience? Just kind of unpack that a little bit if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, I loved cheerleading. It was something where it was like a team experience.
Okay.
And then it was also challenging because if you were like the best, you'd always get in the front and that kind of
right,
stuff.
Right, yeah, of course.
So it kind of like drove you to want to become better and be the best, and then that's why I wanted to try out to be team captain. And then when I got that, it was like, yeah, I hit that goal.
Okay,
so
cool.
That was good.
Cool. So now like there's I mean when I think of cheerleaders and things like that, like I think there's probably like just certain, I would say certain things, like a football player, like, right? I played college football. So when you think of a football player, you kind of have like certain things you think about a football player. When you think about a cheerleader, there's certain things, that you think about cheerleaders or whatever. So like, were you, I mean, because you talked about, you just mentioned like you were pretty quiet overall. So was that really challenging for you? Or did that force you to kind of get out of that quiet shell? Because a cheerleader, when I think of a cheerleader, they're usually pretty loud, they're kind of spunky, outgoing, all that type of stuff. So did that really force you to kind of get out of that shell? And was that a positive thing, or was it like really, really fearful, and was that a struggle for you?
Yeah, so when like you're doing something like cheerleading, it's when the time is to cheer,
right? It's
a whole different thing.
Okay.
But behind the scenes, it could be like really intimidating. Your coach is yelling at you or something. You're just quiet.
Yeah,
it's the same with like personal training. Personal training brought that out of me too. Because before I started personal training people, I was super quiet, nervous. But when you're one-on-one with someone, just something switches in you.
Right.
So it's like kind of same.
Okay. Now, how did I want to touch on the just being quiet and stuff, because I'm not a quiet person. Yeah. I'm very, very loud and can be very outgoing and talkative and stuff. And so quiet people, I'm always kind of fascinated. So, did you, like, was your family, like, the kind of your family dynamics, you said you grew up with two brothers, right? Mm-hmm. So what were your brothers kind of more loud and rambunctious, and then you were more quiet? Were your parents quiet? Like, where do you, or is it something kind of natural? Where do you think that kind of comes from?
I feel like that's just who I was ever since I was little.
Okay.
So I remember being like 5, not wanting to talk to anyone.
Okay.
But my brothers are really loud.
Yeah,
so and my parents are pretty calm too.
Okay,
so
okay.
I don't know. I feel like it's just genes.
Yeah, kind of innate. Okay,
yeah.
No, that's cool. I just, like I said, I'm always interested and fascinated by that because I'm definitely not that. So, all right, so. Awesome student. You were the captain of the cheer team and stuff in high school. What did obviously I already said you have a BS in dietetics, so that means you went to college. So where did you go to college? Kind of what were those college years like for you?
I went to Metro State University.
Okay.
They just got the degree for dietetics, so I didn't have to travel to get the degree.
Mm-hmm.
College was a really rough time for me because I was living on my own, actually with a boyfriend, and it was just not good. Not a good relationship. And then on top of that, working full time. And Metro, actually, let me rephrase that. I went to 4 different colleges at the same time.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because Metro was a kind of school where it was so new that like freshmen couldn't take certain classes because the seniors had to get priority over it.
Okay, yeah.
So I'd have to go to like Arapahoe Community College. I don't even remember the other ones, but all the community colleges plus Metro I'd have to go to so that I could graduate within 4 years.
Wow, okay. Yeah. So you said that college was kind of like, it was kind of some tough years. Did you end up graduating in 4 years then?
Yep, 4 years.
Okay,
that
cool.
Was the goal.
Sweet. So what did you do in regards to work during the college years?
I worked for a lady as her personal assistant, which was crazy.
Oh, it's crazy?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So she was a sheik from Dubai's wife who lived here.
Okay.
So I would cook all of their food for them.
Okay.
So that's where I learned how to cook, though.
Okay,
so
yeah, sweet. Yeah.
I learned how to cook like nutritional meals for the whole family.
I'm sure Alex appreciates that, right?
So I went from not knowing how to cook to knowing how to cook like all of these nutritional meals for parties and households because she had like hundreds of people over at a time.
Yeah. And
it was a lot of fun. It was crazy, but I was able to have a flexible schedule with school.
For sure.
Still make a little bit of money to pay rent. And I don't know, I just learned a lot from it.
Yeah, cool. Now, like you don't have to get into the details, but you mentioned kind of like this, this boyfriend that you had. It wasn't really a good relationship, or maybe it was toxic, something like that. It just wasn't the best for you. But let's just touch on like from that experience with that relationship at that young of an age. What was kind of like the takeaway for you? Did you learn something like pretty profound during that experience or during that relationship that you were able to kind of apply to your life, and that kind of helped you grow and mature and maybe just be a little bit better at picking that next relationship?
Yeah, so there was good and bad from the relationships that I learned. The bad was that's when I started developing like trust issues with people because I realized there was bad people in the world. Because right out of high school, you're so naive, you don't know that. And then the good was just that I wasn't willing to put up with anyone's crap.
Yeah.
And then also that my goals were more important than someone treating me bad. So I never put that person before achieving like college and stuff like that.
Right, yeah. So in regards to like, let's say like there's a young girl that's listening to the podcast or whatever, and maybe she's in a quote unquote like bad relationship right now. What would you kind of want to speak into her life if she kind of recognizes like, hey, you know what, like, maybe like I love this guy or I like this guy, however you want to word that, but she knows that it's not the healthiest relationship, it's not the best relationship for her. What would you want to speak into her life right now, Siera, in regards to that situation?
So I always think about this. What could I tell myself back in the day?
Yeah.
First, I'd slap myself.
You wouldn't do that.
And 2, it's just, there's so much out in the world. Like, you can't just focus on one person, especially someone who doesn't care about you.
Yeah,
because, I mean, when you're first in love, you think, oh my gosh, this person's everything. But that's because you never experienced love. So you'll take it wherever it comes.
Yeah.
You gotta realize that's not okay. And there's just there's so many people out there that will treat you well. And just don't give up on your goals because someone isn't encouraging you to stay with your goals.
Cool. That's awesome. I like that. Okay, so you graduate college again, like we've already mentioned, BS in dietetics. We kind of chatted about this before we turned on the mic or whatever. Kind of like what you want to do with that degree, but to just talk about a little bit about kind of like what you want to do with your degree, and then kind of realizing like kind of like what you had to go through to do what you specifically want to do with that degree. Kind of how did that transition look like post college, kind of stepping into a job or a career?
So originally the end goal was to become a dietitian, until I realized, one, you have to pay for an internship that's a year long, and you have to move. So it's like, why would I go almost $100,000 in debt to become a dietitian?
Right.
Where their average income is $50,000 a year. So I was like, nope, we're not doing that. So I was super lost. For a while I thought I was going to become a nurse, realized I didn't want to do that. So then I took a job as a nutritional counselor at King Soopers. And that was probably one of the worst jobs I've ever had in my life, because I had this degree, I wanted to help people, and they were making me like bag groceries. So I was like, oh my gosh. This is when I was with Alex too, and like he knew how miserable I was. It was like I was so depressed because I had like all this knowledge. I wanted to help people. And it was just bad. So then Alex goes, why don't you try personal training? You'd be really good at it.
Okay.
So I got my first job at Ballys Total Fitness.
Cool.
And it turns out I was really good at it, and I can combine the nutrition with it. So most trainers don't have like that background in nutrition.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so it was like amazing because I could help people with both aspects.
Cool. Okay, so we've brought up Alex's name a couple times, and for the listeners that haven't listened to Alex Carnero's podcast episode, he's a previous guest on the podcast. I can't remember what number, but not too far back. But Alex and Siera are fiance. Siera is Alex's fiance and vice versa. And so when we were referring to Alex, if you're kind of wondering who Alex is, it's Siera's fiance. And again, he's a previous guest on the 127 Fit podcast. So I want to talk a little bit because we talked about it with Alex, but I kind of want to get your perspective and your side of things. Like, how did you guys kind of meet? And, because I know Alex talked about, some different relationships that he had been in, and, just going through the kind of that, the struggles with relationships. But how did you guys meet? And then just kind of like, how have you guys been able to kind of like encourage each other and grow together?
So we met on social media. On
Facebook.
Yeah, I poked him.
Facebook, huh? You poked him? Oh, that's old school right there.
School, yeah.
That is really old school. That's awesome.
Then we went on a date together, and then from there, we've just been together ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was this like, Alex is 32, right? If I remember right, because we're okay, because I'm 32. I thought we were the same age, but so is this like what, like your guys like mid 20s or something, late 20s or? Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so you poked him on Facebook, then you went on a date. The rest is history. So like how? Because he was very complimentary of you, kind of like, because he's been very successful in competing in men's physique, the first pro of Colorado, the 4th overall, and things of that nature. Been on the Mr. Olympia stage for men's physique. But he said that you really have challenged him in regards to just like, hey, like, why are you continuing to compete, Alex, when you're not happy? Mm-hmm. So would you just maybe like expound a little bit on like from your perspective again, because he was like just like Siera was a huge part of me stepping away from competing, kind of realizing like I'm not enjoying this, I'm not having fun. There's I think another factor too in there, but you were a big part of it. So from your perspective in your relationship with Alex and like all the success he had through competing, like just how have you been able to kind of like open up his eyes to like, hey man, like you could be doing something else and finding a greater joy than competing and doing all like this bodybuilding type stuff.
Yeah, so the competing was right when we got together.
Okay.
That was his prime of competing. We were together during the Olympia. I was competing a little bit too, but not to the extent he was. It was just like obsessive behavior, and we both had this behavior.
Of course.
So it was like we fed off of each other, and it was fine because we were both doing it. But then it got to a point where the health started taking turns for both of us, especially him. And I was just like, what is going on? And he was just miserable. he wasn't living his life to the fullest. And then I kind of had stepped back from the competing world, and it was just like, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, what is the end goal? Like, are you trying to become number one in the world? Are you trying to make sales on your, like, social media stuff? Like, what is the goal of you doing this? So when he realized, like, he had hit his limit to where he was, then why are you doing it?
Right.
To yourself. Yeah.
So when you kind of like spoke into his life, were you also kind of speaking from your heart in the sense of you speaking into your own life? I mean, when you got into competing and stuff, did you enjoy that? Or were you kind of like seeing maybe a little bit of yourself in and through Alex, and as you kind of spoke to him and said, hey man, like, what are you trying to do? Like, you're not really, having fun, you're not enjoying this. Were you also then kind of speaking to yourself and trying to figure out if you wanted to continue to compete or not at all?
I knew that I was done.
Okay.
Just because I could see just the whole politics behind it.
Right.
It was like my first national show, they didn't even look at me.
Right.
So I put all my effort into this money and you didn't even see me. What's the point?
Right,
so you're putting all your success into someone else's judgment, which they're probably getting paid to make sure you're going to win.
For sure.
Why are you doing something where you have no control over the outcome? And that's a huge thing I've always done my whole life. Why are you ever going to give someone control of the outcome of the life you live? Right.
So when you talk about competing, did you compete in bikini?
Yeah.
Okay. Will you share a little bit about like just kind of like your experience? I mean, you kind of already touched on the politics and stuff, but I mean, what was the impetus or what was the reason for you to get into bikini? And then, kind of like when you first started getting into bikini and things like that, did you enjoy it? So like, what was the impetus? Why did you kind of get into that world and to begin with?
The first show I ever did was the Flex Bikini model search. I
cool.
wanted to get in like a magazine, and that was potentially going to help me get clients for personal training.
There you go.
My goal was for the competitor side when I first started training, and it did help me kind of create like my business. But from there, it was just after the first national show, I was going to do one the next week, and I physically couldn't do it because I just did not feel good, and I knew something was wrong. So it was like I loved that feeling of being on stage, and I loved the discipline of it.
Right.
But knowing from my degree of nutrition, like, it is definitely disordered eating.
Right.
I won't say I had an eating disorder because I never allowed myself to get to that point, but it was not healthy, sustainable eating.
Right.
So I had to put a stop to it.
So for the most part, then your kind of like competition experience was not really that positive. Then is that fair to say?
Not the best.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. It had its moments where it was like you met people, you saw like different things, and it was cool to be on stage and stuff. But when you kind of snap out of it and you're like, what am I doing to my health? You realize it's just not a good thing to do.
Yeah. So let's take a step back, Siera. Kind of obviously you're in cheerleading and things like that, but kind of like to compete in bikini, like you're going to be stepping into a gym, right? And probably lifting some weights, doing some sort of, obviously you're going to be doing some sort of exercise and things of that nature. But where did you kind of like gain that interest or that passion for fitness? During college were you working out and stuff, or where did that kind of come on the scene for you personally?
So nutrition was where it first started.
Okay.
And that was during the cheerleading years.
Okay.
Because we had to take a test about nutrition.
Oh, perfect.
So that's when I was like, okay, I want to go to school for nutrition. And then I was working out and stuff, but nothing crazy.
Right.
That was when I met Alex, that he started teaching me like everything he knew, and just like the split workouts, leg day, upper body day. So I learned like that from him.
Okay, perfect, cool. Now, I like to, like I told you before we turned on the podcast or whatever, like, there's no agenda except for you sharing your story, and like, you're a very beautiful woman, okay? Now, how does that, because like, like people like in our society, like they, kind of one of the slogans is like image is everything, right? And like most people understand on some level that, the physical appearance of an individual, that's going to like tie into them getting like specific jobs, and there's all kinds of different things like of that outward appearance, whether you want to admit it or not. But so for you, like your outward appearance and your outward beauty, like when did you kind of like recognize or realize like, hey, like I'm a, not to sound conceited or anything, but like I'm a good looking individual, and how has that like tied into like kind of like your life? Because sometimes that can be a positive thing, but also it can be a negative thing, because like if our worth is found in our outward appearance, then it's like there's going to be a lot of emptiness inside. Do you kind of see what I'm kind of getting at? So like, when did you kind of realize like, hey, like, you know, I'm attractive on the outside, and then has that been a big positive in your life? Has it been a negative? Has it been a combination? Just share a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's been both. My mom always used to tell me, no matter what, you're always beautiful. So it's like, I always knew, like, oh yeah. Or Alex would make fun of me saying like that I'm not, because he just likes to like joke around.
Of course.
Like, I know I look good. So but no, it's definitely helped with business. And that's why I always take care of myself, because unfortunately beauty sells. So you have to kind of use that to your advantage.
Of course.
But it also was a disadvantage when I had a normal job. I had to dress down. I couldn't wear makeup, because if your boss is a female and they see you as a threat, that was like, it's just not fair. And then with like male superiors, you also have to worry about that too. So it's like, when it was not my own business, it wasn't a big deal. Now it's like, it's a good thing now, because it just, I don't know, something about it. I definitely dress myself down a little bit during consultations. Like I won't have like the lipstick I have on now, because you don't want to intimidate people too. So it's kind of just a presence that I like to have. I like to have like that professional presence, but making people make sure they take me seriously as well too.
Cool. I appreciate you touching on that, because you know, a lot of times in society we want to, like, there's realities in society, right? But a lot of times people don't want to face reality, or they don't want to talk about reality. And it's like, you know what? If somebody's a good-looking individual, like that's like a reality, and the reality is that's gonna probably help them a lot in a lot of situations in life. And it's like, it kind of, I don't get it sometimes, because people just like, there's the reality, but they don't want to face that reality, or they want to deny that. It's like, it's like, no, actually, that person probably got that job over the other person because physically they're more attractive, they're more appealing. And like, when you're in like personal training, when you're in business, entrepreneurship, sales, all that type of stuff, like the first thing you see is the outward appearance, right? Like if you're talking to somebody and you know they've got like bad breath, or they got something in between their teeth, or they got a booger in their nose, like that's a distraction, right? So it's like, you want to try to eliminate all those type of distractions. And again, like, images everything in our culture, whether you want to buy into that or not, that is a reality. And in the fitness industry, it's like, dude, like, if you want to lose weight, are you going to hire the personal trainer that's 75 pounds overweight? Or are you going to hire the person that has the six-pack and they look the way that you want to look? Like, most people, 99.9% of the time, are going to hire the person with the six-pack and hire the person that they want to look like, as opposed to the person that's overweight. So, you know, that's just the reality of specifically the fitness world, but that's the reality of just life in general. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit about that and touching on that. Okay, so let's move into let's dive right in then to kind of like the personal training. You've already kind of touched on all that. Alex was a huge part in you kind of stepping into personal training. Let's talk about your experience at Ballys, kind of the global gym setting. What was that experience like? And then we'll kind of move on from there.
Yeah, so I always tell people, like, Ballys was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Okay.
I was only making like $12 an hour training people, but I learned the skills necessary for sales, for consultations, because that is like key if you're going to become a personal trainer. It doesn't matter if you can't get clients in the door, if you can't make them sign up, then really you have no personal training business. Yeah. So that was like one of the best things that probably could have happened to me. Okay. Now,
what was something at Ballys in regards to kind of the marketing and pulling clients in? What's a couple of things that you learned from that? So let's maybe talk about like advertising or promotion or sales in the sense of getting clientele. What were a couple takeaways from Ballys and that experience?
So I would bring in my own clients. I wouldn't rely on Ballys so much. I got all my clients from social media at the time. I started my first website, and my first website was called Nutrition Hotties. So
there you go.
I had to start somewhere.
Hey, you know what? Hey.
Yeah, so I started
wrong.
that, and then they would give you leads too, but the leads don't know who you are, so
Right,
you're going to have to try to convert them.
Okay.
And it's pretty much people will tell you their problems, their fitness goals, and I was just honest with them, like what are you going to have to do to reach those fitness goals? How many times a week are you going to have to train with me? What are you going to have to do? But then I'd also have that nutrition component where I'd give all my clients nutrition plans, and that was like what really set me apart from those other value trainers, because they couldn't, like legally they couldn't. So it was something that I had that the other trainers didn't have.
Okay, so that degree in dietetics was really a powerful tool for you in your toolbox in regards to, first of all, getting clients and then retaining clients. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So the degree did come into play, and it's still coming into play. So that's good, because a lot of times in my life, my bachelor's degree in exercise science hasn't come into play at all, and it's good to hear when people's degrees actually help them. So now, in regards to, because Alex and I kind of touched on this a little bit, I think during our conversation, but what were maybe some of the negatives of, not specifically Ballys, but Ballys is like a global gym. It's it's big, and they're taking a huge percentage chunk out of what you're making personal training. So not speaking bad against Ballys, but just kind of that whole global gym setting. What were some of the negatives that you experienced?
Negatives were definitely people were just numbers. So
right.
They really didn't care about your fitness goals.
For sure.
And it was all about, unfortunately, sales.
Right.
So it was like I had to make my clients feel appreciated because they were, whereas no one else cared about them.
Right.
I didn't let them know that, but everyone was always like my number one priority.
Right.
Whereas the big global gyms, you're a number, you're just pretty much dollar signs. To
Right.
them.
Right. Okay. Now, sales is going to be important. In any business, especially for like personal trainers and stuff. So what was something that you kind of learned in regards to sales for getting your personal training clients?
The biggest thing you have to realize is during consultations, it's little things like mimicking what they're doing.
Okay.
The person's doing, like how they're speaking. You can tell if they're really nervous, like if you have to like keep digging into what they're saying a little bit more.
Okay.
So I'm really good at reading people. I'm also really good at how their body language is, and you have to make them feel comfortable. So I'm always smiling. I'm always like laughing. I'm trying to lighten the mood because they're super nervous. Like I would have to say selling fitness is probably one of the hardest things to do because people come in already scared, and there's like 6 pillars to getting someone to change their fitness goals. So when they're finally there, now you have to sell to them to like commit to something.
Yeah. So what's kind of like that? What's the hook then? You know what I mean? Because like you're talking about, they're coming in fearful, nervous. They've gotten the quote unquote doctor's orders, right? Or they had some health scare. They know they need to be there. So how do you kind of like and you get them to open up? But what's the hook? Kind of like, how do you get them to sign the dotted line, so to speak, to sign up for personal training and then keep them? So kind of like, what is the hook, or what are a few hooks that you like to use to really get their mindset to shift from like, do I really want to do this to actually like, okay, I need this, I want to do this, here's the money.
So there's 2 things. When they tell you their problems and their goals, the first one is, how are you going to solve it?
Okay.
I'm going to solve it for you by doing this and this. And then the second thing is I make them commit that day to signing up. So usually, like, Alex is a little different. He lets them leave. I don't.
Okay, yeah.
It's like, you're going to sign up because I need to have you in the book. I need to start working on your program. I'm not giving you the time to leave, to second doubt yourself.
Yeah.
And then you're just going to be mad at yourself because you're not doing it. I'm going to make you commit to something that you've always wanted to commit to, and then you're never going to regret it.
Right.
So, yeah.
So do you ever get any pushback from that approach? Or
sometimes they'll be like, can I think about it? And I totally let them. Like, I don't force them.
Yeah.
I can tell they are legit scared and need to think
right.
about it.
Yeah,
so I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But usually it's about 90% that I can get to commit.
Okay, cool. And that's great. So the question is, how are you going to solve the client's problem. That's kind of like the question that you have in your mind when they're presenting the information to you, like, oh, like I've got this heart condition, or I want to lose this weight. So your thing is like, how can I solve their problem? And then you kind of verbally express like, so this is the problem, or this is the issue, or this is, kind of like, what you want to get out of personal training. This is how we are going to help you or solve this problem for you. Am I understanding that correctly? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So what, how do you, because like, again, we're talking about this, there's a lot of fear, anxiety when people are, stepping into something new in their life. So in regards to like having like an environment, do you really try to create like and you talked about, trying to be like kind of lighthearted, funny, and, things like that when you're having these consultations, but, let's say like a prospective, client, what type of environment are you trying to set? Are you really trying to set like a kind of a safe environment where they can really open up? How do you kind of approach the environment when you have a consultation with somebody?
Yeah, so I always kind of show them the gym, make small talk.
Okay.
I always want them to have like a calm, quiet setting where it's all about them. It has nothing to do with me. It's all about them. Okay. And so it's just really just organized and calm. Okay, cool. Now, let's talk about kind of how like you and Alex have you've opened up your own training facility. And between you and Alex, our discussions, it's going through a little bit of a name change, a transformation. But before we get to that, how did you guys kind of work together, you and Alex, to open up your own facility? Yeah, so I came home one day and I said, hey, I'm going to open up a gym.
Okay, well, there you go.
And then he was like, yeah, I'm totally going to support you. And then from there, it kind of just transformed into our thing as a couple. Okay. Because I'm really good at things he's bad at, and he's really good at things I'm bad at. Okay. So it was like a perfect combo. And so he helped me set up the whole place, and then there's been ups and downs with the business for sure. Yeah. But that's why we're like rebranding. We're trying to find something that's like the two of us combined together, what we both like and don't like. And so, yeah.
Okay. So you came home, you said you're going to open up your own gym. Alex is like, cool, let's do it. What was kind of like, did you just kind of got sick of kind of like the Globo gym setting and kind of everything at Ballys, and then you're just you know what, I'm over it, I'm going to go do my own thing? Well, just share a little bit about that thought process of like coming home and saying, I'm going to open up my own gym, because that doesn't just happen overnight, you know what I mean?
No, actually, so from Ballys, I started training in a apartment complex gym.
Oh, okay.
So I started my own business, so I was completely away from Ballys. Yeah. But this apartment complex gym smelled like geese poop.
It what now?
It smelled like geese poop.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
And it was cold, and it was just weird. So my business was growing in like this really like gross, grummy place. Yeah. And I was like, this can't happen. We can't keep doing this.
Yeah, okay.
And so from there, I've been thinking about opening it for a while.
For sure.
I actually had to like go see someone because I had so much fear with opening up a business that I had to talk to someone about it so that they would be like, why are you so fearful of opening something of your own? And it was always because I'm scared of failure. Like, I can't fail. No, you can't fail. And so after I got over that fear, that's when it was like, okay, I have to take the next step to make my life better, because I cannot work in this place that smells like geese poop for the rest of my life. And I have a thing, I can never work for people. Like, I want to be my own boss no matter where it is, and I want to be able to control things at all times, which is a good and bad thing. But things like the music, the climate, that kind of stuff, I wanted full control over. Because I want to make the best experience for my clients, and I don't want someone to have control over that. Right.
Okay, you just
left out a part there.
No, well, not necessarily, but you just gave me a lot of ammunition here on some things I want to dig a little bit deeper on. So you talked about fear of failure. Is that something kind of like your kind of your quietness? Is that something that you feel like is innate? That's something that's just in your DNA, or where do you think that came from?
That came from childhood. Because there was no room for failure. You always get that A.
So you're referring to and talking about like from your parents then?
Yeah.
So they were very stern and like these are our expectations for you, Siera. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then that created a fear within you of like, you don't want to let your parents down? Is that what it was? Or was it a fear of like a punishment? Or
no, it's within myself.
Okay.
One, I've never failed at anything, so I can't fail.
Okay.
I guess in my own ways of failing. I've always been good at everything, so it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do something that, one, is financially very scary.
Yeah.
And two, could blow up in my face if I try this. So, yeah.
So then did that create a bunch of anxiety inside of you? Like when you just the thought of opening up your own place and the financial risk and all that, I mean, was that just like complete internal turmoil during that time when you were thinking of that?
It was a battle. Like I remember Alex and I were in the parking lot of a gym right before we were about to sign the lease of this place.
Yeah.
I was just crying because I'm like, what if we don't make the rent? What's going to happen? And so a lot of people don't know, but when we opened the gym, we moved in with my mom because we didn't know what was going to happen financially.
Okay.
So there was like a whole life change. So we went from this really nice apartment, having everything, to pretty much living in a basement. We sold everything to open the gym, and so there was sacrifice and fear of failure at the same time.
Okay, yeah. This is the stuff that I love because this is real life, right? Like we all we're all on Instagram, right? We're all on social media. Like we see the outward appearance, we see the the highlight reels of people's lives, and like here's Alex and Siera, they got their personal training studio in Colorado and all the glitz and the glamour and all this, but real life isn't glitz and glamour, right? Like that's a small little snippet of life. The highlight reels that we get on Instagram and social media, that's a small little snippet of life. So that's why I love these conversations on the podcast, because then it's like, okay, we're today with you, we're slowly peeling back some of the layers, right? But this is the stuff that is very impactful, Siera, with people that are listening to this right now, because it's your life. It's you and Alex's life. Like it's real life. It's the real life of an entrepreneur. It's not all glitz and glamour. It's not the highlight reel. It's not, all the money and your own facility and I'm my own boss. Like all of that stuff is there. It's great and everything. But there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of, breaking through and working through things. So so again, let's put Alex to the side for a moment. For you and this fear and opening up your own business and all that, you said you had to go talk to somebody. So, like, was it like kind of like a life coach, like a business coach, some sort of a counselor? And was that hard for you to kind of admit, like, hey, like I need, outside of Alex, I need to go talk to somebody to kind of break through or overcome this fear? Was that hard for you to do that, or not per se?
I would say, in the beginning, because I don't really like to talk about feelings, for one.
Right.
And then it just kind of helped everything. So she's like a therapist, business coach. She like just helps me with everything. So after the business opened, she helped me out with all the problems I was dealing with during the business.
Yeah.
But it was necessary to see like, why do you doubt yourself so much, Siera? What's making you fear failure so much? You've never failed at anything yet. You're scared you're going to fail now.
Right.
So I had to realize, like, I know myself. There's no way this thing's going to fail.
Yeah.
So when I got over that fear, that's when it all began.
Right.
And so it was like, I was so thankful I was able to get over that fear, because then it changed my life drastically.
Was when you met with this this individual, this coach, did she really kind of just focus on like shifting your mindset? Was mindset really a big part of you overcoming and breaking through the fear? And if so, what were some of those techniques or some of those talks that she had with you to kind of shift or alter your mindset in breaking through the fear?
It was just constantly asking myself, what am I scared of? So then I tell her the answer to what I'm scared of, and she goes, okay, why do you think you're scared of that? And it was always a false, like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And she's like, that's not going to happen. So when she made me look at the positives versus the negatives, that's when I was able to overcome the fear. Okay, cool. All right, so you guys, you step into, renting the facility that we're in right now. Is that correct? The one that we're in right now? Okay. So
you're working through all the fear. You've got Alex on your side and with you and everything, which that's got to be a very positive, comforting thing. What was kind of the beginning process of, like, you know, because you already had kind of your own business. You were at the pigeon poop place, right? Was it pigeon poop? Is that what you said? So you're at the pigeon poop place, but you're like you said, you're growing your clientele, you're growing your business. How did you kind of go from the pigeon poop situation and then opening up your own facility? Did you really have most of all of your clients kind of follow you? And then what were those kind of initial days, weeks, and months like when you guys first opened this place up, in regards to kind of just like the process that you had to go through to get it up and running, so to speak?
Yeah, so I transferred all my clients that I was training to this gym because it wasn't very far.
Okay, perfect.
So that was a good thing. But I was not only training people like 8 hours a day, I'd have to come here in between and after to paint, bring all the mats up. We have 100 mats that weigh 100 pounds.
Yeah,
so that's
those things are heavy. Yeah.
Oh, that was, I say college was probably the hardest thing I've ever went through, but after opening a gym, definitely that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It was like, you sleep, you work, you come here. I had to eat like fast food every single day just so I'd eat, and I still would lose weight because I was working, like moving so much.
And probably stressed out too.
So stressed. And it was like so we're on the second floor. Trying to bring gym equipment up to a second floor without an elevator is really fun.
That sucks. moving gym equipment just without the second floor, it just sucks because it's all heavy, it's bulky, it's awkward. I've been there. It's not fun.
Yeah, so it was fun, but it was also probably some of the worst times of my life.
Yeah. I bet. Did you and Alex bond a lot during that time?
We actually never fought.
Good.
Ever.
That's good.
It was shocking.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so from there, then we opened the place, and it was like any lead we got for the gym, I would train them. I taught all the classes.
Okay.
So I did everything for about the first year.
Wow.
And then I hired my first trainer to help out because by then we were doing fine, and it was like self-sustaining. And so it's kind of just evolved from there.
Yeah.
And now we have like 8 trainers, and I don't have to do really anything physically for the gym. I just have to do the stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah. So I wanna touch on a little bit like the dynamics between you and Alex, because again we know that like he had this successful competition career, right? And you know, covers of magazines and you know all the stuff that a lot of people dream about doing. When I released his podcast episode in the show notes, I always do like a little write up about my guest or whatever, and I put on there like he's like one of the most humble dudes I've ever met. Like I mean I was just like blown away, like just kind of his aura and his presence, and during our conversation, like just so humble, you know what I mean, just so kind and everything, which you don't always see that within like kind of like the bodybuilding scene and all that. You kind of, again, like we talked about earlier, like a cheerleader, a football player, you kind of have these preconceived notions about those type of people. And, you know, I've competed in bodybuilding, and again, there's preconceived notions about those type of people. So humble. And so it was a very refreshing experience with Alex. But for your guys' like, you know, relationship in regards to him and all of his success, is it just kind of natural for him to kind of like step back and kind of allow you to shine and do your thing in regards to the business? Or did you guys really have to kind of talk through things? How did those dynamics and how do those dynamics continue to work in regards to you and him having your own business? Because you kind of already said like you're really good at things that he's not and vice versa. So is your guys' relationship in kind of the business sense pretty natural? Or is it something that you guys really have to sit down and talk about and work through?
In the beginning, I feel like it was natural, but as things started growing and get busier and bigger, that's when we had to kind of sit down and reevaluate things. Because he's obsessive too, but I get really obsessive when it comes to the business. So it was like, and this was all new stuff, so I didn't know what to do. So it's like if someone has a problem, I was like, oh my gosh, this person's freaking out. What do I do? Yeah. Now I've gotten better.
Of course,
I know what to do.
But
that was an issue in the beginning, so that's something we've had to work through. But it's always like, we constantly have to remind each other to come back at the end of the day. Like, we're not always business partners. Like, we need to chill out.
Yeah.
But that's something we're always working on.
Of course. Yeah. I'm sure it is. So how do you again, because you know having a couple in a business together, that's an interesting experience. So touch on a little bit, if you don't mind, Siera. How do you guys, how do you and Alex like balance the business aspect of your lives together and your personal lives together? Like, what does that look like for you guys to continue to grow not only your business, but to grow your own personal relationship with each other?
Yeah, so we've had to set boundaries as far as what times do we do business. So it's like when we're done with the last client, that's when we're done.
Okay.
And we have to stop talking about it too. Because when you get like, when it's your life, that's all you want to talk about.
Of course.
So you have to realize, okay, that's not our whole lives. It's realizing that, and then just having a life outside of the business too is really important. So finding things like going to dinner, movies, extracurricular activities that you like to do. So stay apart from like, stuff like that too.
So what's one of those? What's something that you and Alex like to do, just for fun?
Dinner and movies.
Dinner and movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
So us, that's fun.
Cool. No, that's great. That sounds like
we're not like
sounds
crazy
like a fun
or
night.
anything.
Yeah, no, that's
Or we
cool.
play with chihuahuas.
Yeah. That's cool. I like it, man. That's good. What's your all-time favorite movie?
Oh, that's a great question. Me, I love The Holiday. So girly.
Okay, cool. That's good. I like it. What's Alex's favorite movie?
Night at Roxbury.
Okay. Got it down. You know that one, girl. I like it. That's good. That's good. All right. So let's I want you just so somebody that's listening to this, Siera, male, female, it doesn't matter. Somebody that is looking at getting into personal training and eventually owning their own, let's say, gym, facility, however you want to word that. Why don't you just let's just say like 2 pieces of advice for somebody that's getting into personal training, eventually wanting to own their own place or facility. What are a couple pieces of advice that you would just maybe share with those people that are in that situation?
Yeah, so for someone who's wanting to start personal training, I would say don't focus so much on your certificate. That's going to be the easiest thing you could potentially get with personal training. Focus on how you're going to get leads, how you're going to convert leads, and just all the business stuff that goes behind it. So how are you going to get people in the door to train with you so you can change their life? If you're wanting to open up a business, which a lot of trainers do, I always say, first start your personal training business. So register it as a business, pretend like it's a legit business, because you're going to have to learn how to like get an S Corp or an LLC. You're going to have to learn how to do like the accounting. So you have to get all of that stuff before you can even think about opening up a gym, or you're going to be so stressed.
Perfect. Okay, so let's touch on kind of like we've already talked about like the leads and getting people and kind of retaining people, but you talked about earlier we've mentioned it several times throughout our conversation, kind of like social media. So that's basically how you grew. Like in the when you were at Ballys and then the pigeon poop situation, that's gonna be like the best part of our conversation is I get to say pigeon poop like 1,000 times. But so you mentioned like you really used I think Facebook, you said, for Ballys to get your clients. So talk about how individuals can that are in the fitness space, how they can use social media to leverage leads and clients, to retain clients. How does social media play into our fitness game that we're both in?
Yeah, so a lot of it came from Facebook, just posting like just certain like specials I had with nutrition and training, like, hey, come in. And then I'd get people from that. But also then Instagram started becoming huge.
For sure.
And it was, people would reach out to me because they're like, oh, I want to look like you. How can I look like you? So it's all about showing what you stand for, also giving advice, and just becoming someone that people look up to. So that's like a part of it. I don't say that's how I get all of the leads, but that was a good way to start, because when people are looking for a trainer, they're definitely going to do their research and they're going to stalk you. Yeah. So as long as you make them feel good on social media, you'll have a good chance.
Especially when you're good looking, right? That's the thing where I'm like, with social media, like my podcast is in existence because of Instagram, because of social media. I love it, but like people like all these like social media gurus, like, oh, you got to do this and that. I'm like, okay, let's take time out, take a step back, and like we have to actually look. Okay, this person has 20,000 followers, And it's not all because they, posted 5 times a day or they know this algorithm or that's like, first of all, they are a very attractive individual, and that's always going to help with social media and business, right? So so everybody can't look like you. So that, again, that goes back
But
to,
still, you
that
can
helps
like
a lot
good
though,
advice.
right?
Yeah,
Of
like people like
course,
to
of
say
course.
workouts and stuff.
I know, but it's so funny because when you said, like, people were like, well, how do I look like you? It's like, well, that's probably going to be hard to do. It's in the DNA. But now, have you, in regards to kind of like social media, have you guys, and maybe you don't want to share because maybe it's some of the behind the scenes secrets or whatever, but have you guys done any like like Facebook, Instagram, like targeting different kind of like some of those tricks of the trade marketing? Or
we've had success with challenges, but as far as everything else, it's been a flop.
So like targeting and stuff.
Targeting and paid ads, it's harder because, like I said, people are really scared of fitness. So when they input their information, they're most likely not to get back to you because then they are like, oh, why did I do that? Now I'm doubting it because they're reaching out to me. So it's not always the best. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's great information for myself personally and people listening, because you hear, just like anything else in life, like you hear, all these quote unquote gurus talking about how you get leads and all this stuff, and it's like, until you actually dabble in it and try it, you don't really know what's works
leads,
or not.
But
So
converting them is a whole different thing.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about and we're closing in on an hour, so we're gonna kind of head towards the finish line. I want to touch on a couple other things. So let's talk about retention, because we've talked about the leads, we talked about getting clients through the door, all that. Obviously, in personal training, retention is going to be everything. Mm-hmm. So how do you guys retain the clients that you have? And I'm pretty confident it's going to be the biggest one from my probably perspective is going to be results. But how do you guys kind of get people to stay? And how would you encourage, that up-and-coming personal trainer, things of that nature, people in the fitness industry to get people to kind of stay with them and continue through the months and the years?
So it's like a whole bunch of things combined.
Okay.
So it's not only the results, it's the accountability, it's also the relationship you build with them.
Okay.
It's the differences in like workouts, so you have to like mix it up a little bit with them. So I've had people who've been training with me since I first started, and it's because they don't want to work out on their own. They enjoy being with someone. They like the way they feel after, and we've just created a relationship together.
Right.
So it's like working out is actually fun for them versus something that they dread. Mm-hmm. And then the results, they're going to be there because you're always keeping them accountable.
For sure.
Too.
Yeah.
So
would you say that retention, in regards to personal training, like one of the biggest and most powerful aspects of retention is like just building that relationship with that individual?
I think that's a huge part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how do you build that relationship with a client, Siera?
Since everyone has different personalities, it's like you mold into the person with them.
Okay.
So some people are really shy, some people are really outgoing. Mm-hmm. So you learn how to interact with each person.
Perfect.
And you learn, like I said, when I'm really good with personalities, that's when you know if you want to talk about yourself, if you talk about them more. It's like you're becoming their therapist pretty much. So if you really relate to them, if you're going over their problems, not only mentally but physically, it's like a good relationship together.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so a lot of people, come into a facility, a training center, things like that, and they've got something in their mind of like wanting to lose weight, gain muscle, stuff like that. And what I found just in life, whether it's personal training or just building relationships with people, like that mindset, like that's kind of what we touched on with you breaking through your fears. Like that coach helped you to shift, adjust your mindset. So how do you help people that have a fear of being in the gym, that have a fear of other people seeing them working out, all these different fears and anxieties that people have in regards to exercising and things of that nature? How do you help them to adjust, shift, or change their mindset? Because correct me if I'm wrong, mindset is everything in life, whether that's training, whether that's business, again, relationships. So how do you, Siera, kind of connect with your clients and help them to shift that mindset so you can take them where they want to go in regards to reaching their physical goals?
The first thing is if they actually get to the point where they're committing to training, it's showing them like, hey, if you're scared of going to the gym, I'm going to show you what to do when you're here, so when you go to the gym by yourself, you're not going to be so scared.
Yeah.
If you're worried about how to cook, then your homework is going to be to do this Pinterest recipe, so now you're forced to cook it because it's not that scary.
Perfect.
So it's showing them, like, I have a solution to that issue. It's really not that scary, but I have to at least teach you how not to be scared about it.
Okay, perfect. So let's just let's quickly touch on nutrition. What's kind of like your nutritional philosophy in the sense of like, somebody that, let's just take for an example, somebody that wants to lose weight, like what's one thing or what are some of the things that you're going to look at, Siera, in regards to this person wants to lose weight? What are you going to look at in regards to kind of like their diet and what they're eating? How does that assessment go?
So my number one thing is I don't believe in diets. That's
Perfect.
a horrible thing.
Perfect,
so when you restrict something from someone, that's going to make them want it more, and it's also going to develop some kind of disordered eating. So it's all about their lifestyle, what they're doing, and then I have to help them with keeping that same lifestyle, but there's certain things that need to be adjusted. So if you like to go out, what are you going to eat instead of the really fatty thing? Or you can have that, but then we have to figure out what you're going to eat throughout the rest of the day. Are you working out that day?
Okay.
So it's just kind of teaching them how to eat the way they like to, but in a healthier version.
Do you kind of teach like intuitive eating, or do you set up kind of like a macro system, or does it just really vary and depend upon the specific client and their needs?
Yeah, it depends on the person, because some people just have it down and they eat healthy normally.
Okay. Yeah.
Other people,
right.
I will make them track for like 3 days without me giving them a program just to see what they're doing. And then I tell them exactly like, this is where you're going wrong, this is what we need to fix. And then from there, that's when they get like more macro based stuff. Okay, cool.
So how do you deal with a difficult client? So maybe somebody, you ask them to track their, a new client, hey, I want you to track the first 3 days, these next 3 days of you eating. They don't do it. Or you have them on a program, you're going to see them twice a week, and then 2 other times they're going to train on their own, and they're not doing what you ask them to do or want them to do, what they need to do outside of the time that they have with you. So in that type of a setting, how do you work or deal with difficult clients?
Yeah, so you have the people that, everybody has slip-ups, and that's like, okay, now you had a slip-up, how do we reassess, and how do we not do this the next time? But there's also the clients that they just absolutely don't care, and there's some people you literally just can't help, because no matter how hard you try and you're just like, okay, come on, let's redo this, let's do this. It's like after like 10 times trying to get them to do something, it's just within themselves that they're not ready to. So you can try as hard as you want with certain people, which is very rare. It's like 2% of the people you get.
Yeah.
But for the rest, they typically, it's like they know they did something wrong.
Right.
And so they almost feel bad themselves. So it's just reevaluating that. And then that's when we also do like measurements too.
Okay.
Like I had a girl that went out of town this weekend, and I know she drank. So I told her, hey, Thursday we're doing measurements.
There you go.
So I know you're going to get your act back together.
Yep. Very good. How important for nutrition, and then also for actual like movement exercise, how important is it for people, for your clients to have goals, and how do you kind of like work with your clients to set specific goals for them?
So all my clients set their own goals.
Okay, perfect.
And then from there, that's how I design their programs. So everyone has different workout programs, everyone has different nutrition. So it's all based off of what do they want versus it's not what I want. It's what the client wants.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. What's so far as an entrepreneur in the fitness space, personal training, owning your own gym, things like that, what's been like one of the biggest lessons that you've learned through entrepreneurship?
Oh man, that it's not easy.
It's not easy. There you go. Okay, why? Because on Insta, when I get on Instagram, Siera, entrepreneurship seems like it's easy, it's cool, it's fun. No, I know. I'm being sarcastic. So why? What makes being an entrepreneur, having your own thing, being your own boss? What's so hard about that? And obviously, I know there's 1,000 different answers you could give, but for you personally, what's been like the biggest challenge or the hardest thing in this season of life of being an entrepreneur?
There's no one who's going to teach you what's going to happen, like the bad things that are going to happen. They'll tell you, but until you physically have to go through it, and you feel that pain of an unsatisfied customer, you don't know how to deal with the hard situation, and you have to learn it the hard way, that's the part that's not fun.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so when I talked to Alex, he was mentioning to me, and I think this is a part of your guys' kind of like rebranding and everything with the training facility. He talked to me about, you guys are growing and maybe getting another facility. Kind of just touch on that a little bit. What's your guys', you and Alex, what's your guys' kind of like your vision, for the facility? Are you guys looking at having multiple locations in Colorado? Are you trying to expand, nationally? What's kind of like that long-term goal for your guys' facility and what you guys have together?
So I feel like it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
I think deep down my biggest goal is to franchise later on.
Okay, cool.
That I feel like is a whiles to go. Potentially maybe another location.
Okay,
but
cool.
One is already stressful enough. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the thing is as it goes, you're like, oh my gosh, this is really stressful. Do I really want to do that, or do I want to stay and do something smaller?
Yeah.
So right now it's just we're figuring out what we want to do versus what we're expected to do.
Okay.
So it's what is going to make me happy versus what does society tell me I have to do to be successful.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know, it's kind of up in the air, but I feel like I hit goal 1, so now I have to figure out what goal 2 is.
For sure, yeah. What's, so for you personally, where do you want to be, let's say 2 years, like, where do you want to be for yourself personally, like in 2 years? And like, so maybe like what's something you're kind of working on personally right now? And like, where do you want to be as an individual in a couple years? So like, do you want to maybe be doing like maybe some more speaking in front of groups of people? Just kind of like something like that. So right now, like what's something personally you're working on? And then personally, for you, Siera, where do you see yourself in 2 years outside of, having your own business and being in the fitness industry?
That's a great question. That's the problem that we always have.
Do we need to call Alex in and have this a group discussion?
Yeah, like I said, when your life is business, there's nothing else. Like recently, the past year, I've gotten into doing like resin art. So that's been fun.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
Kind of been, I've been selling it too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess just, non-business related, I don't even know.
Do you guys you want to have like a family and stuff, have kids someday, or
nope.
No? Okay.
No, like I just want dogs. I don't want kids.
Cool.
That's the thing is I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's
sure.
that's you know what? Like some people might be like, well, how do you not know? But you know what? There's a lot of beauty in not knowing and just allowing. That's the season because I quit my teaching job like 2 months ago, and I've been in the season the last 2 months of like just. Because I'm type A. I'm like go. Like I got to be doing stuff. I don't like to sit still. And I've been really working through talking to myself, saying, okay, Quentin, like, there's this quote by Henry Ford that says, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So I've really in this season, the last 2 months, been forcing myself, like, all right, Quentin, like, just allow life to unfold, okay, as life is supposed to unfold. And for somebody that's like really like impatient like me, type A, go, kind of like, you and Alex, and you got all these things, going on, all these dreams, visions, goals, all that type of stuff, like that's really hard, but I've really found that to be very powerful in my life. Like there's things that are now starting to come into my life. Like if I would have quit my teaching job and be like, okay, I've got to go get another job immediately because I've got bills to pay and all that, like the stuff that's now starting to come into my life, it wouldn't be coming into my life right now. So it's beautiful not to know what's next and just be like, you know what, I'm open to receive whatever is supposed to come into my life. Here we go. So it's cool. It's good, Awesome. Okay, Siera, before I ask the last question, we've had a very thorough conversation. We talked about a lot of different things, touched on a lot of different topics. Is there anything I haven't asked you, or is there something maybe that's really kind of like, burning inside of your heart that you just kind of want to put out to the world that you want to share with the listeners before we get into the last question?
Not really. I'm a very simple, calm person. we went over everything. You got a lot out of me versus what most people get out of me.
Yeah, and I could I wanted to peel back a few more layers, but well, I didn't want any bleeding to start. So so the last question that I have for you, Siera, is what sets your soul on fire?
I just love helping people. I love business.
Mm-hmm.
Love Alex. Love Chihuahuas.
There you go.
Life is good.
Life is good. But like truthfully though, like there is something beautiful about being able to help somebody like break through or reach, specific goals. Like, somebody's like, they come in and, you help them to lose like 100 pounds. Like that's literally life changing for them. So that's gotta be like something special, like that just really lights you up, right?
I have one client who a year from like right now, so she had a brain tumor the size of a baseball. And she texted me because we were supposed to train. She's like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to train, I have to go into surgery today. All I could think of is, oh my gosh, she's not gonna make it.
Right.
So she texts me 2 months later and goes, Siera, I survived one of the hardest, and the doctor said he was shocked that I lived through this surgery.
Wow.
And she goes, hashtags deadlift saved my life.
There you go. That's awesome.
So yeah, she said if I wasn't physically able to make it through the surgery, I don't know if I would.
Absolutely.
So it's like things like that. It's like, oh my gosh, like
cool.
It was awesome to be able to change your life like that.
For sure. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Siera. So if anybody that's listening to this episode, if they've resonated with your story, a part of your story, if they want to find out more about you and Alex, driven personal training, all the things that you guys got going on, where can the listeners find out more about your guys' stuff?
So my Instagram is at Siera Capesius, or you can go to traindriven.com.
Okay, perfect. So Siera, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your insights. It's greatly appreciated. I appreciate the opportunity to connect with you and podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we got to thank Alex, right? Because he's our connection.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So 127 Fit podcast listeners, I just want to again thank you so very much for hanging out with Siera and myself, for listening to the podcast. I'm just always so thankful and appreciative of your listening ears, of your time. If you'd like to find out more about the guests that I'm bringing on to the 127 Fit podcast, if you'd like to find out more about myself, you can find me on Instagram. That's at 127 Fit. Facebook is at Quentin Vars. LinkedIn, Quentin Vars. If you guys would do a huge favor and please leave me a 5-star rating and review, and also subscribe to the podcast, that would be cool. If you think you would be a great guest, or if you have a friend or an acquaintance that you think would be a great guest or guest for the 127 Fit podcast, or if you would be interested in sponsoring the 127 Fit podcast, please send me an email or give this email out. And that email is 127fit@gmail.com. And if you guys are interested in supporting the 127 Fit podcast financially on a month-to-month basis, you can go to @127fit on Instagram, go to my bio, and you will find the patron program there. It's the first link in my bio. Just click on that, and then you guys can begin to financially support the 127 Fit podcast. And as you guys are finding great value in a specific episode or episodes of the 127 Fit podcast, as I know you are, please do me another huge favor and take that episode or episodes and share it on your Facebook and Instagram stories using the hashtag #BeSomeoneToFollow. And then per the usual, I will leave you with Proverbs 24:10, which states, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. This time until next time, I will catch you guys later.